Hello and welcome to Everyday Lessons Every Day. I'm David McBee. Based on my book by the same name, this podcast is for those of us who believe in personal growth and want to improve every day. This is episode 18, Family and Career Finding Balance. This week's lesson comes from the Broadway musical that was based on Ron Chernow's biography of Alexander Hamilton. Lin-Manuel brought this founding father's story to the masses in a way that had never been done before, through musical theater. Please note that there will be spoilers in this episode, although I hardly think that I should be held to normal spoiler protocol, considering the show is based on events that happened over 200 years ago. Also, my podcast today is based on the character of Hamilton from the musical and its historical accuracy or inaccuracy as it may be. I really don't know. Okay, let's do this. As I sat down with my family to watch the show, this being my second time seeing it and my billionth time hearing it, I actually watched it through a different lens, my Everyday Lessons Everyday lens. Instead of simply immersing myself in the show, enjoying the music, the singing, the dancing, the story, I asked myself, what can I learn from this? What everyday lessons can we all learn from Hamilton? There are actually a lot. Of course there are. It's the story of an immigrant who helped free and build our great nation. No one can argue that he did great things. In fact, I think most people would agree that he was a great man, as history defines great men. But he was also deeply flawed, and he made mistakes. And because the whole concept of Everyday Lessons Every Day was founded on the idea of learning and growing from one's mistakes, I think this makes for ideal subject matter for us on this 4th of July, 2020. So what made Hamilton a great man? He was a person who worked very hard, was relentless about achieving his goals, was committed to his dreams, and was willing to do whatever it took to win. These are traits that we all admire and seek to emulate in our lives, and these are the traits that led to his place in history as the man who helped free the colonies and build a new government. If I were a younger man, I think this is the part of the show that would have impacted me the most, driving me to persevere in the face of adversity, to dream big, and to succeed at all costs. But I'm not a younger man. I'm at a point in my life that I'm starting to see things with different eyes. Quick aside, do you remember the movie Say Anything? It's the one where John Cusack falls in love with this girl that's totally out of his league. She's smart and pretty and driven and headed off to some fancy college while Cusack's character is barely passing his classes and he wants to pursue a career as a kickboxer. Back in the day, I was rooting for Cusack to tell the dad off and run away with the girl. You go with your boombox and your Peter Gabriel, right? Today, boys like that are interested in my smart, pretty, driven daughter. Do I need to say more? Have I made my point? Okay, so I'm watching Hamilton through these older eyes, and it comes to the part where he tells his wife that he has too much work to do and that he can't join her and the rest of the family at the lake for the summer. I knew he was making a huge mistake. In fact, this seemingly small decision led to Hamilton's infidelity, which led to his being blackmailed, which led to his political enemies having power over him, which led to his ruined career, the loss of his marriage, and in a way, even the death of his child could be tied back to this moment. See? Spoilers? But do they really count as spoilers if it happened 200 years ago? I mean, it's not like I'm telling you who Luke Skywalker's father is one day after The Empire Strikes Back opened. Thank you very much, Sean Mosley. Sorry, painful memory there. So back to Hamilton. In this moment, he chooses money, career, status, and the success of his work over family. Because of that, he loses the things that are most important to him personally. I identify with this because it was almost me. Maybe you identify with it because you are faced with a similar choice in your life, career or family. Maybe your spouse is making that choice, and it's having a negative impact on you. Maybe you're a young person and you see this dynamic happening with your parents. Maybe you're an older person and you see it happening to your children. It seems like career versus family is a conversation that is happening all around us. And more often than not, the narrative is that you can't have both. In researching this week's podcast, I found an article by Inc. magazine called Why So Many Entrepreneurs Get Divorced, where they say that the poverty associated with building a business or the power that comes from being the boss have negative consequences on the spouse. In fact, in my own podcast idea notes, there's this whole thing about Steve Jobs and how this great man was universally disliked and had terrible relationships with his daughter, his first wife, and so many others. Hamilton wasn't the first. Jobs won't be the last. Sadly, I'm not sure there is a clear solution to this family versus career conundrum, except maybe to recognize that it exists and to be clear about what is important to you. To know that if you're building a business, chasing a dream, creating something that will take away from your family, you've got to make a conscious effort to find balance. For my part, I try very hard to commit time to my family, and maybe more importantly, to be present when I am with them, not on my phone, not answering emails, not working. I have a full-time job and my writing and speaking projects, and of course, this podcast takes several hours out of my weekends, so I work on these things when they're sleeping, or they're at work, or at school, or at softball practice. Or said another way, when I am with my family, I do my best to wear the dad and husband hats, not the employee or the writer hats. I just try to be that person when I'm with them. That's the choice I've made because I don't think that there's any amount of success that could replace my family. Back to Hamilton. As I watched the second act play out, as I watched him go down in flames, so to speak, it made me wonder, had he prioritized his family, would he have led a happier life? I think the answer is an easy yes. But then I asked a harder question. Had he prioritized family, would he have gone down in history as a great man? Would he have accomplished all that he did? And would he have created the legacy that he so fervently craved? I don't claim to have the answers. I never have. When I sometimes get introduced as a self-improvement author, I literally laugh out loud. I'm no guru. I'm no life coach. I am deeply flawed. I don't even come up with most of the ideas that I talk about. I just read a lot and then use what I learn to try and be a better version of myself. Everyday Lessons Every Day isn't me telling anyone how to live. It's just me talking about what I'm doing based on the stuff I'm learning. So on this subject, all I can tell you is that putting my family first saved me from being divorced. My family brings me more happiness than I think $1 million home would or any successful business or career. Do I still want to be financially successful? Yes. Do I still want my words to reach a greater audience? Yes, I do. Please share this podcast with friends and family. Do I want to change the world? Yeah, I do. And do I struggle with finding the balance between my family and my dreams? Every day, people, every day. But when I imagine achieving all of my financial and career dreams without Emily, Tanner, and Zoe by my side, well, it all just seems pointless. It feels like it would be an empty victory. So I can't tell you what choice to make. All I can do is make you aware that you are making a choice. Whether you know it or not, you are choosing career over family, or family over career, or you're making a conscious choice to find balance. Sadly, I think that too many great men and women don't realize that they're making that choice. They're working so hard on their relationships that they give up their dreams, or they're chasing so hard for their dreams that they don't even see their relationships suffering. And how many of them justify their neglect by saying that they're doing it for their family. That was certainly the case with Hamilton. Meanwhile, his loving, supportive, and patient wife was emphatically trying to communicate to him that no matter his station, his career, his financial success, he was enough for her. He just didn't hear her. And so I challenge you. Get out a Sharpie and write balance on your wrist. Don't go through life chasing dreams that will lead you to financial and career success without also dedicating time to your family and your relationships. Alternatively, consider not giving up on your goals and dreams because you're so dedicated to your family. Losing yourself in those relationships can also be detrimental, especially when the kids go off to college and you're trying to figure out your place in the world without them. But that's maybe a conversation for a future episode. Let me know what happens when you implement this lesson. I'll see you next time. Now go out there and do something awesome.